right, I'm back. It's been a quick minute since my last update. I just been super busy with life, with family, with coaching. Last week, we went on a family vacation to Universal Studios and we had an absolute blast. And it was definitely a much needed family vacation. As far as the bodybuilding side of things, contest prep, always harder to manage that when I'm away from my normal environment. It just gets a little harder to manage food, to manage the training. It's hard to manage the time side of things because obviously I need to find time to train, to make sure that I'm present for my family and doing our thing with the vacation. So I probably was about 80% on point with diet, 20%. Of course, I was having a nice dinner with my wife, that type of thing, making sure that I was present, with my son while we're, having our meals, that type of thing. And the training side of things, I was able to get one hotel gym session in. And as you guys know, if you guys have trained in a hotel gym, it's not always the best type of training, but it's better than nothing. So at least I got one session in during the week. Wasn't really concerned about, let's say, losing muscle or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure that the week wasn't, let's say, at a loss and I saw regression as far as putting weight on. And that wasn't the case. Once I got back home, got back into routine, of course, I'm continuing to move myself forward. But again, the priority was to have those life gains first and foremost, and that was definitely accomplished. But in general, yeah, when you're on this side of a career like I am and have seen a lot of success over the years and developing what I think is a pretty good physique and doing well on stage, good placings. Again, having, a long successful career when you're on the tail end of things, it's hard to find the fire and the same type of passion like when I was younger, when I was chasing that physique a lot more, chasing that progress and really just yearning for that progress. So there was a lot of fire that helped to fuel me in order to better myself. So on this side of things now, it's just like you kind of lose a little bit of that fire and a little bit of that enjoyment. At least that's been my experience as of late. So it's been hard with the contest prep mentally for me because a part of me still wants to better myself, get on stage, have fun with it all. But another part of me really does enjoy the family life. Like, again, going on a family vacation and just being present, having nice dinners with my wife, having a glass of wine or two. So just enjoying that type of lifestyle. And I know, like, in order to get super shredded and get on stage and try to do well, that there does need to be some type of sacrifice with, the family life as far as the social life. So it's just been a little bit of a tug of war mentally for me, and it's been a little bit of a struggle. But I think what I really needed was to, just fully commit to a show. And that's the case. I fully committed to a guest posing. I was asked to guest pose at the INBF Central Valley Classic promoted by Terry Reeves. So I said yes to that. And of course, once you commit to something like that, I don't want to let people down. I don't want to let the paying audience down. So I want to make sure that I'm coming in my best shape. So after the family vacation this week, I'm like, okay, it's time to dial things in. And that's what I'm doing. But before I talk about the current protocol, I just want to, say to some of you who might be early in your career or maybe even halfway through or whatever, like there's probably a lot of fire and a lot of passion, a lot of desire to attain more progress. And sometimes, trying to chase down progress, we can get anxious, we can get a little bit insecure around it. And sometimes it takes away from the enjoyment of the process. Just know that journey, that process is where the real rewards are at. Yes, it's nice to have a well-developed physique. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it. But I definitely miss that chase, that passion, that fire, that drive to, build that physique. And again, the the enjoyment is within that process. So stressing right now about where you're at in your process, you feel like you're not developing as much as you should, just take a step back and take a big breath in and just try to think about the work that you're doing. Like, try to find as much love with it as possible, because again, that's where the real enjoyment is at. So getting to my protocols, grinding, nothing really has changed with protocols. I'm still roughly 1,800, 1,900 calories, 5-6 days out of the week. The thing that I did now, though, is that I'm committing to 6 low days per week this week, 1 refeed. Definitely going to keep the refeeds in check. That's been kind of my Achilles heel with this contest prep, is that the refeeds, they're just a little bit too loose. And the reason for that, again, is that mental challenge of, wanting to be that family man, that good husband, and just, in a sense, relaxing with life. And I realize now that, okay, I have to sacrifice a little bit more of that type of world and come back to the bodybuilding world a little bit more. And that meant real conversation with my wife, and just to let her know that, okay, I'm gonna have to buckle down now. We're committed to a show. We're getting deeper into the season now, and in order for me to get on stage, I'm gonna have to sacrifice weekends a little bit as far as the looser refeed. So just tightening things down. And as far as activity level, so making it a point almost every morning, with the exception of Sunday mornings, to get up and get my hour-long walk. I've been actually pushing it to 60 minutes to 75 minutes. So trying to get in roughly 10,000 steps a day. In that hour, I can get roughly 8,000 steps in. So the rest of the day, just kind of moving around the house and whatnot, I can get it closer to 10,000. I may have to increase that activity. We'll kind of see. And then later in this video, you're going to see or hear from me on one of my morning walks, talking about scale weight, mindset around that, and how I go about my adjustments. Training, I'm going to go deeper into my training probably in a future video, because there's a lot of things there that I want to touch on with you guys. As an aging athlete, it's definitely getting more challenging to get safer stimulus, like going about my training in ways where, I'm trying to limit the amount of aches and pains. And then the recovery is more of a factor now. Not just the fact that I'm in a caloric deficit. It's always harder to train when you're, you don't have as much available energy there. Then you throw on top of it, someone who has close to 36 years of training age. That's a lot of mileage, plus, the age factor. So the recovery, definitely a little bit more challenging. I'm going to go in depth a little bit later with a future video on that. I think even some of you guys who are a little bit younger can definitely probably benefit from, the perspective that I'll give around my training. I'm going to just turn it over to myself on my morning walk, and I hope you guys get a lot out of that. All right, good morning and happy Friday to you guys. So I jumped on the scale this morning, and I thought I was going to see a new low, and that was furthest from the truth. I actually saw the scale weight jump up just a little bit, but to be honest, I didn't have any type of emotions tied to that. I know for some of us, we can definitely let our emotions get the best of us in the moment when we're not seeing what we want to see, and that can lead to unnecessary adjustments, such as adding in cardio, maybe lowering calories down, and that, in a sense, really does heighten the overall demand. And I like to think of contest prep from a supply and demand perspective. The demand is training, of course. It's steps, cardio, like I'm doing now. It is like your work life. It's also, real life as far as your family life and that type of thing. Not to say that it's a bad demand, but, it does take energy to do all these things on a daily basis. And then your supply is your food level, it's your rest days, it's also your sleep. So if your demand is starting to really outpace that supply, you can get yourself into a little bit of hot water. If you think about it, if you're all of a sudden, increasing the demand to where you're starting to lose weight really rapidly, or more than you should be, then it's going to be that much harder to keep your training performance up, to keep up with recovery. And, you might be a little bit more susceptible now to muscle loss. So again, the goal, of course, is to get shredded and to get lean, but you don't want to do it at the expense of your hard-earned muscle, because your end product is, that well-muscled physique. Like, yes, we want to get shredded, but we also want to have plenty of muscle to go with it. And we also want to look healthy when we're on stage and actually have energy when we're on stage. So again, I don't have these knee-jerk reactions, in the moment. I like to take a big step back and assess, okay, why is the scale weight up a little bit? Why isn't it down? Well, yesterday I ate quite a bit of food as far as volume. I had a lot of vegetables for dinner. I actually had a salad to go with it as well. And I actually took in a bit more sodium. So those things can definitely impact scale weight. Other things could be the time of the weigh-in. It could be bowel movements, hydration levels, stress, etc., etc. So there's a lot of factors that go into the scale weight. So again, I just want to take that all into consideration and understand too that, in order to, truly gain a pound of fat, especially from one day to another, like, you would have to eat 3,500 calories over your current intake in order to see that pound of fat happen. So if in my case, that would mean I would have to eat over 5,000 calories. And I know that wasn't the case yesterday. Otherwise, I would feel like complete shit this morning from eating so much food. So I know it's just water weight fluctuations. So taking that big step back and just looking at the big picture and understanding that, in order to really identify if I'm not progressing, there's other factors outside the scales, such as looking in the mirror and seeing visibly if I am in fact getting leaner. And that's the case. I can see my abs more. Just looking at myself right now as I'm talking to you guys, my neck looks thinner, nose looks a little bit bigger because my face is shrinking down. So there's visually some signs that I am progressing, and not to mention that I am a lot more hungry as of late, and my energy levels are a little bit more hit or miss. So those are signs that, I'm likely still in a deficit. So I just need to give this more time and see if in fact that scale weight does go down. And, by not changing anything, or at least changing things prematurely, and just sticking to the same protocol and being as precise as I can, being as consistent as I can, it's really going to help me to assess exactly what's going on. Just more clarity with all that. And then, again, taking the big step back, then I can make a better decision as far as whether I need to make an adjustment to the protocol or not. And even if I did need to make an adjustment to the protocol, I'm not going to change too many variables at once. I might say, okay, what makes more sense practically right now? Does it make more sense to lower calories down, or does it make more sense to maybe add in activity, or maybe a combination of the two? For me personally right now, if I had to make an adjustment, it's probably going to be in the form of adding activity, because I really don't want to lower my calories down too much further from where they're at now, because I know if I do that, knowing my history, my tendencies, and that's what's really important about, looking internally as far as what makes you tick versus looking externally. I think it's important to look externally to get some type of general education there, but it's important that, we're really paying attention to what goes on inside. So from past history, knowing like when my calories get to a certain level, I'm a little more susceptible to binges. So I want to prevent that. So I know if I keep my calories where they're at now and I lean more on activity level, I'm probably going to be a little bit more successful. So again, it's important not to get caught up in the moment with your emotions. Sometimes they can get the best of you. And again, you really want to take that big step back and, just have a lot more clarity and have peace of mind with your mind, in a sense, so you can make, better informed decisions, as you move yourself forward. That's it for now. So hopefully you guys have a great week of training. Be safe and treat each other well.